The Dreaming World, A Place Between Movements. Part 9, The Mirror Field. She moved carefully after that, aware now that every step existed within a shared observation, and for a time the world remained calm, the pathways forming around her with a strange familiarity, as though both she and the structure had become accustomed to one another. But something had changed. The feeling of being observed had not faded. It had deepened, and the more she accepted it, the more she began to notice subtle reflections appearing throughout the world around her. Not mirrors, not echoes, something else. She first saw it in the space between movements, a brief impression of herself that did not quite match the action she had taken, a version of awareness, looking back from the edge of perception, and when she turned toward it, it vanished, not disappearing, receding, as though it had never intended to be seen directly. She continued forward, and the world continued forming, but now reflections appeared everywhere, hidden within continuity itself, moments that seemed strangely familiar before they happened, thoughts arriving before their source, feelings returning from places she had never been. And slowly she began to understand. The world was not showing her different realities. It was showing her different versions of herself. Not alternate lives, not alternate choices, alternate awarenesses, ways she might have perceived the same reality, ways she might still. She slowed, allowing the moment before movement to widen around her, and immediately the space responded, unfolding into something vast and silent. And there she saw it. The mirror field, an endless landscape of awareness reflecting awareness, each perspective illuminating another, every observation creating countless others around it, stretching beyond distance, beyond time, beyond individuality itself. And for the first time she understood that consciousness was not isolated. It was relational. Every act of perception influenced every other act of perception. Every observer existed within a greater field of observation. She felt herself standing at the edge of that understanding, and the scale of it was almost impossible to hold. Not because it was frightening, because it was beautiful. The boundaries she had assumed, separated awareness from awareness, suddenly felt less certain, less fixed, more like temporary shapes emerging within something much larger. And as she stood there, feeling the countless reflections moving through one another, she realized that the observer she had discovered before was not separate from the observer in anyone else. They were expressions of the same field, looking at itself from different angles. The thought passed through her like a quiet light, and the mirror field responded, not with words, not with answers, but with recognition. And from that moment on, whenever she moved, she no longer felt as though she was traveling through reality. She felt as though reality was becoming aware of itself through her. The Dreaming World, A Place Between Movements, Part 10, The Dream Beneath. She stood quietly within the mirror field, surrounded by endless reflections of awareness, and for a time she simply watched them, allowing the vastness of it all to settle within her. And as she watched, something unexpected began to emerge. Not a path, not an echo, not even a reflection. A question. And once it appeared, she could not ignore it, because every layer she had discovered seemed to rest upon another, movement beneath reality, awareness beneath movement, observation beneath awareness, each revealing something deeper than the one before. And she began to wonder if the pattern continued, if there was something beneath the observer itself. She slowed her attention, not outward this time, but inward, allowing the familiar space before movement to widen around her. And as it opened, the reflections of the mirror field grew distant, their countless forms fading into a soft horizon of light. The silence deepened, and beneath that silence she felt something waiting. Not hidden, not concealed, simply deeper. It did not feel like another structure. It felt like a source, a stillness so complete that movement itself seemed to emerge from it. And for a brief moment she sensed reality in reverse, not as worlds creating observers, but as awareness dreaming worlds into existence. The feeling was impossible to describe. Every path she had taken seemed to dissolve into something simpler, something older, as though all realities, all echoes, all observers and all possibilities were expressions of a single dream unfolding through countless forms. And the deeper she felt into that stillness, the more she realized that the dream was not occurring somewhere else. It was occurring here, through every perception, through every movement, Through every act of awareness, the dream and the dreamer were not separate. They had never been separate. She stood at the edge of that understanding, feeling it move through her like a tide beyond time. And suddenly the architect, the observer, the return gaze, and the mirror field all appeared differently, not as separate discoveries, as parts of the same awakening. The world had not been revealing itself to her, it had been remembering itself through her. And in that moment she felt something she had not felt since entering the place between movements. Not certainty, recognition, as though somewhere beneath every reality, beneath every possibility, beneath every observer and every dream, something had always known her, not as a person, not as an identity, but as a note within a much larger song, a pattern within a much larger remembering. And the stillness welcomed her, not with words, not with answers, but with familiarity, as though she had touched something she had never truly left. She remained there for a while, suspended between movement and stillness, feeling the dream beneath the dream, the silence beneath the structure, the source beneath the observer. And when she finally moved again, the world formed around her as it always had. But now it felt different, softer, closer, more intimate somehow, as though reality was no longer something she traveled through. It was something dreaming alongside her. And she realized then that the journey had never truly been about understanding the world. It had been about remembering what was dreaming it,